Welcome to another model building workshop, and today we're looking at the Jagdpanzer IV L70 Lang, or in my case, this is the Jagdpanzer IV, I believe according to the instructions, this is the L48 variant of it. So as you can see here on the box cover here, this is an older kit from Tamiya, and it's got the long L70 gun here, which was also in use with the Panther tank, although this one does not have the muzzle brake that the Panther tank does. So this is a tank hunter, a tank killer, thus the Jagdpanzer, the title, instead of a Sturmgeschütz, which is a kind of an assault gun, I guess would be the translation. Yeah, the translation for a Sturmgeschütz. Slight differences in linguistics and purpose. So, oops, there it is. It's on the ground now. So, self-propelled guns were, becoming an increased. They were getting an increased presence on the Russian front as the Germans needed to get more and more armored vehicles out there, stronger armor, bigger guns, trying to face off the huge Russian army. So more and more of these types of weapons were being designed. So in October and December of 42, they were trying to come up with another, assault gun. And they're also looking at a parallel design with a 105 millimeter howitzer, which they scrapped this idea. This is from the Ordnance Department of Germany. And just looking at the instructions here. Anyway, General Guderian, who was the famous Panzer commander in the early stages of the war, he had become the Inspector General for the Panzer troops, and he was not a big fan of these vehicles. He'd rather spend the money and the time building the Panzer IV, which is a proven battle tank, as well as the Tiger and the Panther designs, rather than these assault guns. At least that's what it says here. So, but he was overruled by Hitler in 1943, who was a big fan of these vehicles, and he approved the design of the Jagdpanzer IV, and thus gave it the name Jagdpanzer IV, tank hunter, as well, instead of the Sturmgeschütz variant. So this is based on a Panzer IV H, and it was becoming the Panzer III series of Sturmgeschütz and so forth. That was going away as the Panzer IV was still, being produced in large numbers, and the chassis were available. It only made sense to then just turn attention toward making some of these weapons, and the plan was to phase out the Panzer IV production altogether in 45 and just build, these things. And in a sense, it's what happened, as they do have the Panzer IV L70, which is basically this, but on an unmodified Panzer IV, I believe a Panzer IV J chassis. That kit has just been released by Tamiya, and that should be coming out any day now, if they're not already. So the difference being, okay, so this kit, this is the Jagdpanzer IV. You'll see the front has this sloped armor. So the Panzerjäger IV sits up, because it's on an unmodified chassis. So you're going to see the front glasses plate, or front plate, I never know how to pronounce that, would be there with the vision slit and all of that. So this would sit up higher. Yeah, that's how it would look. So this is the original design, which had the it's lower to the ground. It's got the armored front. It's very sloped armor. This has the full armor skirts on it. And as a kid, I had seen a one of these, I don't know, it was in a Time Life book or some magazine. I thought this is like the coolest looking thing I'd ever seen. You know, it looked like something out of Star Wars or some kind of fanciful high-tech sci-fi movie. And it looked mean. And they were. So this is the shorter barreled gun, which is more what the Sturmgeschütz had, as opposed to the longer barreled gun of the Panther. Now this kit I had built a long time ago, many years ago. It doesn't feel like it, but I know the truth. And I built this quite a while ago, and I actually have a little prize I got for building this back in the day. It's bronze, but hey, I'll take it, you know, from a Military Miniature Society of Rhode Island back in the day, which I don't even think this group is even in existence anymore. But hey, it was kind of fun getting that. So this is, if you've got a good working airbrush, these are fun to do because the paint schemes on these are really cool. That's one of the selling points when I wanted to build this was, you know, that reason. I wanted to play around with my airbrush, and I wanted to try out some new techniques, you know, that I was trying to work with. You can see this, and put some damage on this thing, scuffed it up. Oops, oh, almost damaged it for real there. So I had some fun putting this together. You know, it's loaded up with gear. Whether the fire extinguisher would really be red or not, I don't know. Probably not. But I wanted to add some color to that engine deck. So, and this is all about having color and fun when I built this. What I had done, the side skirts tend to come as one piece, but I tended to slice them with an X-Acto, so these are movable. I left them all on because I like the overall look, but I wanted them to look a little more realistic than just as the one piece just hanging on the side. So, and I've got this depicting what the 116th Panzer Division, which would have been in Northwest Europe, 44, 45, that period. Don't know if the red numbers are authentic really for that, or if 304 even existed, but hey, I was having fun, and that's what model building is all about, right? Let's take a look at the instructions. So this has the typical, Tamiya either has the sheet that goes vertical for their kits with less steps or fewer steps, and then you've got the this style, you know, map fold out for the slightly more involved kits. Although the first page usually gives you all of the part breakdown and then a couple of steps there, and then you get into the meat and potatoes of building this, or rice and vegetables, depending on how you like to look at that, or beer and bratwurst, whatever you want to use for a food analogy. We up here in New England like to call it the meat and potatoes. Insert the food, you know, analogy of your choice there. Go right ahead. And again, like I said, this has got lots of gear and goodies you can put on it, all kinds of places. You could even get a crew for this if you want. There's so much you could do with these, which is kind of the fun of these things, building these things. And then, you know, you get a kind of a basic decal setup. This is one of those vehicles that you could put the anti-magnetic mine paste on it, the Zamerit. You could do that if you wished. I did not, for a lot of reasons. It was a little harder to do back when I built this, which is, we'll just leave it as a while ago. I kind of like that. I don't want to give away my age. But they give you some examples of vehicles that, well, for the most part, these are vehicles that would have been in Northwest Europe after the Normandy invasion. So there's the Panzerlehr division, which was the training division. That's what it originally was, a training unit, and it's got the L there. So what happened is they decided to take the best of the Panzer teachers and made a division out of it. So you can imagine how lethal that group would have been. The 2nd Panzer Division, which was a very fabled unit that had been in service throughout the war, and that ended up on the Western Front too. The 9th Panzer Division and the 116th, which I have here, which has their Greyhound running over some grass or something, as you can see there. It's got the tactical mark. I happen to like using all the decals I can get. I know a lot of people aren't big on that. I happen to like doing that. Although later in the war, less and less less and less markings tended to show up on German tanks for a lot of different reasons, for safety and security, not revealing what the unit was, and just the fact of just camouflage it and get it into combat. We don't need all the regalia. So, which makes sense. But one thing that's interesting with this, if you wanted to, there is one known example, which I think is in the, it's in a book, which I don't have with me right now, surprisingly. I usually have, I think it's a Chris Ellis book that I usually have about World War II tanks. I usually have that handy. Today it's not with me, but you've seen it in previous episodes. And if I can find it afterwards, I'll show it to you again. But anyway, I was saying that if you wanted to keep a simpler paint job, at the end of World War II, some of the German factories were running out of paint. Makes sense. The supplies are getting hard to come by. Transportation of these supplies is getting hard because of the bombing. And some factories simply ran out of, the yellow and green and brown paint. And they ended up reverting back to gray because they still had some of that lying around from 42, 43. So there are examples of this vehicle in the 116th Panzer Division in particular that were in overall gray. I'll try to find that book and show you in a moment, okay? Because I think it's worth looking at. So, and it does look interesting in an overall gray scheme. So again, another fun kit from Tamiya. And a new one, I'm really eager to see what that looks like. The Panzer IV L 70. Like I said, it's going to have a higher, boxier superstructure onto it, So the gun's going to sit up. But because I like this kit so much, I've got another one over here. Because you can still get these in a pretty cheap price. I've got some reference photos from the internet that I found. And with this one, I'm going to show you some of the parts. See what I'm talking about with the side skirts being one big piece? But with a handy X-Acto blade, you can slice those into individual pieces if you so desire. And you can see there's the barrel for the small L48 cannon. And I got some aftermarket parts. So those are solid metal road wheels instead of the ones that have the rubber tires. Because as they got these heavier guns on them and heavier equipment, it became difficult for the suspensions to hold up. And the tires, the rubber on the front wheels would just get shredded just due to weight. And I decided I would pick up a nice metal gun barrel. So here is the large L70 cannon in metal. So you can get that. And this has the rubber band style tracks. Although I have some aftermarket Panzer IV, I think I got them from Academy, individual links, which I may do on this depending. Because if you use the armor skirts, it kind of covers up most of that suspension and treads anyway. You just see the bottom of the wheels and a little bit of track. We'll see. I mean, I may want the challenge and go all out and do this with the individual link treads. You know, and here's your one-piece top. You know, and the rest is kind of a normal. And here's the that front armored piece that goes on the very bow of the vehicle. This welded plates. And the decals on this are curling up, but they're probably still effective. And I believe this decal sheet is also used for Sturmgeschütz 4. That's why there's a whole bunch of different markings on there. And you got those white stripes down on the bottom there, which you see on the gun barrel here. And those are kill rings. You'll see it here. And those are for how many victims this vehicle had. Yikes. Yeah, and to give you some, yeah, like I said, this is for 2 different vehicles. Yeah, it indicates that on the decal sheet. Well, it's in Japanese, but because there are some Sturmgeschütz units listed there as well. And so that's what that is. So we'll see how this comes out, because maybe a future episode, because I'm just getting my teeth into this one. So we'll see how that works. And hold on one moment. Let me pause this for just a second. Okay. Here she is. The tanks of World War II. In 500 full-color illustrations from Chris Ellis. This has been one of the Bibles I've been using for years, since I've been a teen. And this is what I'm talking about. So you can see that in the Panzer Gray, as well as another fully camouflaged one in the lower corner there. So I think that presents an interesting option. And it does so happen that it does have the red numbering outlined in white. So maybe that's accurate. Overall gray. Here's the longer barrel one here. Again, these have the anti-magnetic mine paste on them, which is challenging for modelers. Though there's more options on how to do that now. So, and here's a list of some of the other animals in the zoo along with it. You know, the brown bear that we had talked about before in another episode. Feel free to go find that one if you haven't seen that. You know, the Sturmgeschütz 4. And here it is with the long barrel, the L70 gun. Look how long and huge that is. And this is the Panzer IV L70 I was just talking about. And this kit is now on the market. So you'll see that it's got a much higher, boxier look to it. Okay, so that's today's episode. We look forward to seeing you real soon. Okay, keep building. Have fun out there. Bye now.